Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we're going to have a great conversation today, and I have the pleasure and the honor of talking to Damian Bunting from Missouri, from Jefferson City. And, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I started my transformation journey, I was looking for inspiration. That's something that was important to me to go out and find someone that I could look up to, that I could look up to for to be a mentor, to do those things that I wanted to do in my life at that time. And I was really lucky because I found Damian's Truth Beyond Sight um, a video blog online, and I started following that week to week, and it gave me so much inspiration to get where I wanted to go in my fitness journey, that I've got to give him a shout out, because he was pivotal in me making that decision, and just keeping that motivation to keep going week in, week out. Now, Damien, he started the video blog Truth Beyond Sight, and there's some really raw, real information in that. If you haven't seen that, you should go check that out on YouTube. But he's an awesome inspirational speaker. He's a personal trainer. He's a gymnastics coach, and he not only talks the talk, but he walks the walk. In that, he is constantly in service of other people, and that's what this is all about. So he loves helping kids with their gymnastics. He loves helping his clients in his gym up in Jefferson City to get results. And not only that, but he comes from a law enforcement background. And so his life is a life of service. And I think that's so important. And I think that's something to be admired. And it's something I definitely admire in him. So with that, I'm gonna just talk a little bit about where I came from, and then I'm going to turn it over to Damian. So, I started my fitness journey 3 years ago. I was almost 300 pounds. I was overweight. I was lethargic. I was sedentary. I was drinking heavily, and all of those things led me to a bad health result. In that, I had gout. I had high blood pressure. I had all of those blood maladies that were leading me to an early death. And so I got to a low point 3 years ago where, I had to make a change, or I was looking at a short lifespan. And so I was really lucky to find something that allowed me to make that transformation change. And I know that Damien has a similar background, a similar transformation story. And so I thought it would be really great to come on and just have a conversation, talk about how we overcame those difficulties in life, and how, we're moving beyond that and becoming champions nowadays. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Damian and let him just talk a little bit about his journey and where we're coming from. And with that, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. That's a great lead in. And, it's interesting to hear you talk about some of those things, because, I think that anytime someone gets to a point where they have accomplished something, or they've kind of overcome something, it's easy to forget about where you came from. And I think that anyone that's staring at any possible transformation or any possible lifestyle change, a lot of times, the reason why people never get started is because it simply just seems like too big of a task, right? So when you talk about all of the things that, you've overcome and you've gone through, you talk about all the things that kind of led us to, creating a friendship, those are 2 years, 3 years ago. And a lot of people just don't have the patience to allow themselves to go through that 2 or 3 year process. And that's what's so important about any change. If you want to make yourself a more favorable potential employee, you have to make yourself more appealing. You have to go to school. You have to gain better skill. You have to become more presentable, and all of those things take time. And that's something that also goes into our lifestyle and our fitness and our health. So, hearing you talk about all of those things, it's interesting to kind of look back and go, wow, that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and here we are now. And you know, the lifestyle changes that I made at that point in time where you and I kind of met each other have led to some amazing things. And, you know, hopefully we can share a few of those today. But anyone that's watching this or listening to this, you know, if you're in a position where you're broken and you're ready, and that's probably the one thing that I would want people to take from this conversation more than anything. Before you can make a transformation, before you can make a change, you truly have to be broken and ready. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and we were refinishing a piece of furniture. And if you've ever refinished furniture, you know that the first thing you have to do is you have to clean it, and then you have to sand it, you have to clean it again, and then you have to prep it, and then you refinish it, right? So that process of refinishing, the most important thing before you can add that paint or before you can add that stain or before you can do anything to it, you have to clean it and you have to strip it. That process of taking that sandpaper and scraping all that old paint, scraping all that old, all of that old varnish or whatever is on it, that's a painful process. It's a tiring process. By the time we were done, you know, we were tired, we were sweaty, we were covered in, you know, particles and dust. And from the perspective of the furniture, it had just gone through such a horrible experience of being, you know, rubbed and just and scratched raw. But at that point in time, it was ready, right? And any time before then, it would have been too early to apply the new paint. It would have been too early to apply that sealant. And that's what we have to take into effect and into account in our life. Before we can make any sort of transformation, before we can make any sort of lasting change, we truly have to get to a point where we're broken. And you were talking about where you were with your health, and where you were with your fitness, and where you were with your alcoholism. It took you getting to that point before you made the decision that this is not how you want to live. Because I'm sure, much like myself and much like anybody else, people probably came to you at some point in time and said, hey, would you be interested in possibly coming with me to a fitness class? And you might have said, no, I'm not ready. I don't really want to do that. Or maybe someone said, can I interest you in a vegan diet? Or can I interest you in, you know, maybe these supplements or something like that? And you might have laughed them off or kind of, you know, made that pivot so that you wouldn't be involved in that. We all do that. And the reason why we all do that is because we're not at a point where we're broken. You truly do. I know you're a father. I'm a father of four. You truly do sometimes have to let people get to a point where they are sick and tired of being sick and tired before you can offer help. I was at that point. I know that my kids have been at that point. A lot of the athletes that I train are at that point. A lot of clients that I work with, they get to that point. And until people get to that point, there's no chance of them making that lasting change. So.
Yeah, that's so true. So, you know, I took the liberty of grabbing a couple of your pictures. I want to throw one up here on the screen and then just kind of have you, you know, talk about where you were at that point in your life. How, you know, what kind of changes were going on? What was your mental mindset that allowed you to get out of this place in life? Okay.
Okay, definitely, yeah.
All right, let me do this.
Are we going to walk down memory lane here?
I think it would be useful, don't you?
Yeah, let's see what we got.
All right.
Oh my God, yeah, that's crazy.
Okay,
yeah.
So that picture on the left, so let's talk about that one.
Dude, it's crazy to even think, man. Like, you know, I mean, what do you even say? You know, I just like, that is the epitome of being at your absolute lowest point. So that picture on the left, that's my birthday, right? So like, that's my birthday, and you can tell like there's no happiness in that picture. Mm-hmm. You can tell from the way that I look, the way that my body looks, my face. You know, there's no smile. I mean, it's just, it's completely the lowest point of my life, man. And you know, my mother had passed away 2 years before that, and I had given up. I had all but given up. I had gone through a horrible divorce. At that point in time, 2014, so 7, 8. So at that point in time, I had a 7-year-old daughter that I had only seen twice. Mm-hmm. I never talked to her. You know, I'd only seen her twice, and I had checked out, man. I was drinking. I was taking a lot of drugs. I had an amazing girlfriend at the time. I was cheating on her probably every other day. I was having an affair with a married woman. I was doing everything every destructive vice and action a person could take. That's what I was doing. And on my birthday, my girlfriend, who was much better than I could have ever deserved, made me all these brownies. I ate that entire pan of brownies. And that night, the day after my birthday, I woke up at 2:00 in the morning. I couldn't feel my arms. And I had a horrible panic attack, and something told me to get to the hospital. So we called an ambulance. I went to the hospital. And it just so happened that the doctor that was on call was the father of one of my gymnasts. And so he comes in and he's like, he goes, dude, you haven't fasted, but everything that you're describing, everything that we're seeing on your charts, you're diabetic. And my mom had just passed away from diabetes, from type 2 diabetes, and she had a horrible, long, painful death. And he goes, we're going to put you on insulin right now. He goes, we're going to put 2 IVs in you, and we're going to open them up full bore. We're going to pump you full of fluids. I was drinking, a case of soda, in about 2 or 3 days. Just, the food that I was eating. He goes, we're going to put you on 2 IVs. We're going to flush your system. We're going to get you in here tomorrow. We're going to get you started on an insulin regimen. And at that moment, I had this vision of my mom being taken out of her deathbed and me being placed in that same bed. And it was like, okay, your turn, you're up, And I begged him. I said, listen, I can fix this. I said, give me some time and give me a couple of weeks. I'll come back and we'll run some more tests. I'll do whatever you want, but do not make me take that shot. Like, I was absolutely terrified. Mm-hmm. And so immediately changed my diet that next day. And, people always talk about, frequency and changing the dial. So a lot of times most kids now don't know anything about the radio, who listens to the radio anymore. But, when you're trying to tune in a radio and you can kind of hear that station, you can kind of hear what it is you're looking for. Yeah, that's the sound, that's the song, that's the type of music I'm looking for, but it's not quite coming in clear. And you make that small adjustment. Those of us who are old enough to know that, like, little dial, and you move it just a little bit. My grandma had a radio where, you had to fine tune that bad boy. And if you got it just right, boom, total clarity, right? And so changing my diet allowed me to drop that initial 10 pounds, say in the first 2-3 weeks. And it was like moving that dial just a little bit, and it was total clarity. And it was that moment of, okay, wait a minute. If I can change my diet and I can have this effect on my weight, what if I change my perspective? Would that have an effect on my lifestyle? And what if I change my lifestyle? Will that have an effect on my relationship? What if I change my relationship? Would that have an effect on my personality? And so on and so forth. So making that small micro change led to, 3 years later, 3.5 years later, where I have my own fitness gym. I'm impacting the life of different people on a daily basis. I'm no longer drinking. I'm no longer taking drugs. I'm in a committed relationship where I'm happy to be with one person. I'm happy to be in a faithful relationship. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've reestablished that connection with my children. I've welcomed with open arms my responsibility as a parent. All from making that one change. But like we were talking about before, I had to get to that point where I was simply that piece of furniture, right? That piece of furniture that we talked about in the beginning. I had to be stripped, and I had to be sanded, and I had to be cut, and I had to be broken in order for me to be rebuilt. And that's the one thing that I think most people, my dad would always say, he told me this the other day, there's 2 ways you can learn. Now, I've already gone through it, I can tell you. and you can listen to me, and that'll be the easiest way. Or you can allow life to teach you. I care about you. I love you. I want what's best for you, and I will never lead you down the wrong path. Life doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you know, as parents and mentors, whether it's us or whether it's people, you know, working with us, the lessons that people bring to you are always, generally they're brought to you with kid gloves and with love. Mm-hmm. Hey, don't do that. Hey, maybe you should do this. Hey, maybe you should change this perspective. Life doesn't give a shit. Mm-hmm. Boom, here you go.
Yeah.
Diabetes. You want to change? You want to change your diet now, or would you want to lose your foot? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Boom, your relationship is now over, and the person that you had built this, you know, this lifestyle with, the person that you have a business tied together, the person that helps generate income for you. Okay, well, you have screwed around on this person and broken her heart. She's leaving tomorrow. Guess what? Now you got to figure things out. Those are brutal teachers. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I mean, I'm kind of going on a rant here. Sorry, I don't mean to do that. But, you know, what I see in that picture on the left is someone who was unwilling to take the advice of a lot of mentors and a lot of people. And what I see on the right is a person that made a small micro change that led to huge improvements across the board.
Well, yeah, that's really powerful. You know, I think what you're touching on something that is like something that's so overlooked, I think, in people's fitness journey, in that it's so much more than just a physical journey. It's a spiritual awakening. It's an inside out type of process, and you really have to, you know, do a deep dive into what's driving those activities or those actions that are causing you to gain the weight and causing you to live the lifestyle that's unhealthy, you know, and your outward actions that hurt people, and your outward actions that cause hurt to yourself, and the guilt that goes along with that plays such a huge part in, you know, your fitness and your outward appearance. And, you know, when you solve those small spiritual things, sometimes it can lead to a big physical change.
You know, unfortunately, Jimmy, you know, who teaches that? So what we're talking about is a total body approach to lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, oftentimes I have to tone it down, because I sound like I'm trying to be a Jedi or something, and that's not the case. But everything truly is connected. So how you think, how you eat, how you interact with people, your internal morals, your external outlook, it's all connected. And people think, okay, I'm going to focus on my fitness, without thinking about what is it that led me to be overweight in the first place, right? Or I'm going to focus on my relationship, without thinking, well, maybe if I was in better shape and I felt better about myself, I wouldn't project all of my negative feelings onto my mate, right? So everything's intertwined. It's like having a car. You have a car and you go, my car won't start. Well, it's not that the car won't start. It's that there's a small issue somewhere. Maybe your spark plugs aren't working. Maybe the onboard computer is not working. Maybe it's your alternator. There's a lot of things. It's not that the car itself is broken. It's that there's something internally that's not working. But until you open the hood, you do a complete diagnostics. When you take your car in, they don't go, oh, your car's not working. I'm just going to assume it's the radiator. Mm-hmm. First thing they do is go, because you know, you go in there and you're like, it's making this noise, and it's firing weird, and it's this, that. And the mechanic goes, listen, we're going to plug this little thing in and turn it on, and we're going to get some numbers. We're going to get some readouts. And then off of that, we're going to see where the problems are. And then we're going to come and tell you, okay, this is an issue. This is an issue. And oh, by the way, and this is the part that we hate when we go in for auto work. And this is so applicable to our life. Okay. This is very, very, very nuanced. And I want people to think about this. This is the part we hate. And this is the part that's most important. When the mechanic goes, by the way, this and this major issues. You've got this over here. This over here is not broken yet, but you're at the point mileage-wise where you want to start thinking about this. Maybe you should get this replaced. Maybe you should think about doing some work over here. It's not necessarily imperative, but it's really important. And somewhere down the line, this is going to become a bigger problem than this. And what do we normally say? I'll get it later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So in life, a lot of our problems are right in front of our face. My weight, my supplementation, my diet. But then over here, my outlook, my attitude, my respect for other people, how I interact with other people, the problems with my childhood, the unresolved issues with my father. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we all think, But you drive that car off the lot and you have that new alternator, so your car starts and you think, I'm good. But you're not good. You're not good. And that is where we fall short. And so to think of life in a total aspect of that mentality, who teaches that? Unless you grow up in a household where your parents are thinking like that, or you have this awakening. So you're awake, I'm awake, and that doesn't make us any better than anyone else. A lot of people think like, that I personally am trying to come off like I'm better than someone. I'm not. What gets me so fired up and what gets me so emotional and what gets me so invested is that I know firsthand what you're going through. I've been there. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to not want to get up. And now I know what it's like to jump out of bed. And I want other people to know what it's like to jump out of bed, because I come into my gym, I come into contact with people, and generally they look so angry and they look so in pain and they look so hurt. And I think to myself, I know what you're feeling. I know. Just like you can say to people, dude, you have got to try Spark. Mm-hmm. Brother, you have got to try Catalyst. Man, are you sore? Oh, you're sore? Try some nighttime recovery. Because mm-hmm. Right? So when I see people who are in pain and I see people who are walking through life the same way that I walked, because I don't do that anymore, walk through life, I go, man, you know what I mean? And it kind of comes off as though I'm saying, I'm here and you're here. No. I was here. I'm still here, but I'm trying to get here. And I want you to try and get here, because we don't have to stay at this level.
But you can feel the pain and the frustration of seeing that other person's untapped potential, right? Because there's such a bigger picture in life and a bigger future for that person if they would just turn that radio dial, like you said.
I feel so unqualified to even speak to someone's potential. I try very hard to never speak to someone's potential, because I know that I haven't tapped into my potential, mm-hmm. right? I'm almost 40. Let's just assume, knock on wood, that I live to be 80. I'm already halfway through my life. I've wasted so much potential. Mm-hmm. So when I work with my athletes and when I work with my clients, especially those athletes and clients who are young in their teens and their 20s, I don't even feel worthy to talk about their potential, because you're talking about people that have 60, 70 years to go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What I try and talk to them about is, I just want you to have clarity. Mm-hmm. If I can help people just have clarity to where they're at a 6 or a 7 when they wake up out of 10. If you can wake up at a 7, if I can help someone just wake up at a 7, and I can help them get through their day at a 7, that is amazing. Because most people go through their day, they hate their job, they hate their spouse, they hate their family, they hate their situation. Like, I feel so blessed to be happy 99.9% of the time, and that's what I want for people.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what you were talking about from your childhood and the programming that you have in your mind and your self-talk and your self image, and that if you're waking up every morning and you're thinking about all those things that you hate and all those things that are going to be a detriment in your life today and all those things that are a burden on your life today, it's very hard to get out of that mindset and to think, to get into a positive mindset where you're pushing forward and looking at goals that you want to achieve. And that's a huge part of this too, for me anyway.
Jimmy, my father, I've told you this before. He went to the last segregated high school, and he was in the last graduating class of that segregated high school in Arkansas.
Wow.
In the 60s. Okay. So that whole where, they show the video of the National Guard protecting the black kids walking in, that's 10 minutes from where my dad went to school.
Okay.
He knows those people. Okay. So my dad went to school during that era, played football, high school football, where they would go to schools and have rocks and rotten eggs thrown at the bus. They would have to eat in the back of restaurants or get their food to go. They weren't allowed to stay in hotels. That's the upbringing of my father. And my father is the most positive, happy, joyous person that I know. And I asked him once, I said, Dad, I meet so many people. She'll be back in like 10 minutes. I said, Dad, I meet so many people who have so much, and they're so upset and they're so angry and they're so depressed. I said, you of all people, everything that you've experienced, everything that you've gone through, why are you not more militant? Why are you not angry? Why are you not more, my father going through all that has my 4 biracial children and my sister's 1 biracial child. Why is he not racist? Why is he not bigoted? Why is he not prejudiced? Because he could lay out a laundry list of things that were done to him by people where he could have a legitimate excuse to have that attitude. But why is he not like that? And I asked him, and he says, Damian, I only have 1 life. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to take the actions of ignorant people and let that be a weight that I carry on my back for however long I have left? So yeah, the first 25 years of my life were really painful. Do I want to take those 25 years and carry them with me into my next 60? Or do I want to say, you know what? Hand I was dealt. Guess what? I have a choice. Move forward, find happiness, have a family, enjoy my grandkids, right? And that was eye-opening to me. And so I'm like, listen, if my dad went through that and he can still find happiness, I haven't experienced anything even remotely close to what my dad, and let's go back, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather who was a slave, I haven't experienced anything remotely close to what they've dealt with. What do I have to be unhappy about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when
clarity.
when you understand that, when you have that clarity and you understand that, you're able to go, oh, so you mean to tell me that I can, if I choose to, for whatever time I have left on this earth, enjoy every single day.
Right.
Life-changing, man.
Yeah, that is. That's perspective for sure. Okay, so my turn. I'm going to throw a picture up here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and then I'm hoping someone out there is going to get some value out of these stories, and I think that's one of the most important ways that we communicate with people is through storytelling and experience. So here we go. Let me share this out. Okay, can you see that?
Oh my God, dude. Yeah.
Okay, so this is 3 years ago, and these are some of my school classmates. I went to school with these people from first, probably kindergarten to eighth grade, and here it is, all these years later. But you know what brought us together here is one day, it was 3.5 years ago. I got a call, and my buddy, one of my one of my friends from school. Um, we were a tight knit group. We went to St. Monica's in Dallas. We were a Catholic school. We shared a lot of years together, and we were kind of a tight family. This whole group of classmates, and we had something really special. And even the grades too. The previous grade and the year after. They all kind of looked at our group of classmates as like the core of the school at that time. And even years later, people tell me that I was 2 years behind you, but your class was my favorite. And so this group of people were really special, and the relationships we had amongst each other were really special. And 3.5 years ago, I got a call saying that my friend Chris was in the VA hospital in Oak Cliff. So I was like, okay, I got to go down there. And well, I was friends with. He had a brother, Shane. I was really good friends with both of these guys. I spent the night at their house almost every summer for 3 years running. And so I got a call to run down to the. I ran down to the hospital at the VA, and I found Chris there. They had put him in a coma, and his abdomen was hugely extended. What happened, and what I found out a little bit later was that Chris was a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
He had a similar situation to me. He was a heavy beer drinker for years and years and years. He served in the army. He lived a life of service. He was a lawyer, and he in the community, he helped people. He went out of his way to make other people's lives better. But in the privacy of his own home, he had this issue that he couldn't overcome. And so when that happened, I went into the hospital. I found Chris in a coma and not able to communicate. And I sat with him for a while, and I just prayed to God. I said, this is in a similar situation with you and your mother. I said, this is going to be me if I don't change something that I'm doing here. And a month later, Chris had passed away. And I got the chance to go in and talk to him when he was lucid, before he passed away. And it broke my heart to see him in that condition, knowing that he put himself there. And it really made me look myself in the mirror and decide, this wasn't going to be me.
Right.
Well, so that was kind of like the key catalyst in my transformation, that it hit a deeper point in my soul than I had ever reached before, and allowed me to get the courage to really make a change. If you look at the two people right next to me in this picture, they've both since passed away from this.
Wait, which one? The two guys, or the guy and the girl?
The guy and the girl.
From
so
what?
my friend George just 2 years ago decided that he couldn't deal with life anymore. He killed himself.
Oh my God.
The girl next to him, my friend Nancy, she had a tragic accident at an ATM machine. She was going through an ATM machine, and she accidentally left her truck in drive while she was getting money out of the ATM, and took her foot off the gas, and the truck ended up pinning her against the building. And she ended up getting crushed. And
that's insane.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of tragedy to go around, but out of that tragedy, it's like what you were talking about, how sometimes when you're giving those tragedies, or giving those really hard times in life, and you could look at it as something that's a detriment and a reason why you can't make it to the next level, or a reason you can't succeed is because these bad things are happening to you. It's also a gift from God, and it's a gift in that it allows you to make that change that is so necessary for your spiritual growth and for you to move ahead in life. So
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I'm sorry to
yeah.
hear that.
Yeah, so that's my story. You know, so that's one of the questions I had down here is like, what was that pivotal moment that allowed you to get out of that situation that you were in? And you covered that one pretty well. Okay, so one of the things about you that I really, really admire, and I think this is part of your journey too, is that when I first started following you, you were in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember you picked up everything, and I don't think you had anything, and you moved to Missouri to forge a brand new life and started over from dead zero to what you're accomplishing now, and it's really remarkable what's happening in your life now. But you started at a point of zero, and
I literally, I crapped out. So like, if you ever gamble and they
mhm.
talk about crapping out, I literally crapped out. So I absolutely burnt my life to the ground. And all on my own, because I literally, when I left Missouri in 2008 to move to Philadelphia, right?
Mhm.
I immediately got a good job. I immediately got involved in law enforcement. I started making a lot of money. I went through my whole DJing phase. I was making a lot of money there.
Mhm.
And I had a great girlfriend, and I had a great fiance at the time, and there was no excuse. I actually, when I moved to Philadelphia, worked for someone who up front purchased the gymnastics school, and they said, all you have to do is show a profit over the next 5 years, and I will give you 50% of this business.
Mhm.
I completely checked out, ran my life to the ground, and at the end of 6 years, we were so in the hole, and I was such a pariah in my town, and I had so many people literally, when they say gunning for you, I literally had people gunning for me. I had people who were coming to get me. Like, I had to get out of town. It was a wrap. I literally had burnt it down to the ground. So when I moved here to Missouri, my first month that I was here, I got to the end of that month, and I literally took my 2 law enforcement service pistols and I pawned them for $500 because I didn't have enough money to eat.
Mhm.
And so at that point, I was like, something has to happen, and I had already started, doing personal training where I was in Pennsylvania. And I said, you know what? Life has to get all the way on point. So I had made physical transformations to where I was in great shape. I was a much better place emotionally in terms of like my life, but my lifestyle, that little thing that's over here we talked about with the car, I
Mhm.
hadn't addressed those things. So what was I not addressing? My relationship with women. What was I not addressing? That recreational drug use now and then.
Mhm.
Drinking at night and just not putting responsibilities first, not accepting that I was a father of 4 children and I needed to act like it,
Mhm.
not wanting to act my age, right? All of those things. Those were the little small things. So I got my health under control. I got my mindset under control in terms of like how I interacted with people professionally, but those little things on the side allowed me to burn my life to the ground. That's something very important that you should share with people, that look, you get your health under control. That's one aspect.
Mhm.
Bravo, right? It's like you took the trash out. Well, but your bedroom is still dirty and your lawn still has crap everywhere. Like, there's so much more. So yeah, when I moved here to Missouri, it was time to go all in. I was one leg in the pool in Pennsylvania from 2015 to 2016. I was one leg in the pool. When I got to Missouri, I literally jumped all the way in. I said, you know what? Focus on my relationships, focus on my clients, focus on myself. Nothing that is not of total importance and not business related, lifestyle related, I have no time for it, you know? So.
Yeah, that's maturity. That's like, just putting priorities straight, right?
I have some clients that just came in.
Okay. All
Sure.
right, that's cool. We'll wrap it up here, but maybe we can continue this in the near future. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and appreciate watching your journey, and wish you continued success, and value your friendship. So
Man, it's been great. I've never been so close to someone I've never physically met. So
we're gonna make that happen someday.
I appreciate everything, man, and continued success to you, man. You're crushing it. You look awesome, dude. Seriously.
All right, thanks, sir. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Yep.
All right, have a good day.